What's up, YouTube? Obviously, we're back here again with the Gallardo, and as you can see, we got a little bit of a problem. So it kind of popped up last time I was out enjoying, let's say, the Fab Speed exhaust system, doing a little bit of spirited driving, got her good and warm, and as you can hear, the left front cooling fan is obviously taking a dump on me. So after doing a bit of research and seeing what's going on out there, seems it's relatively common to lose a cooling fan from time to time on these early Gallardos. So for those of you guys that don't know, you kind of got up here in the car, you got a little radiator on the right side, you got one on the left, and each one has its cooling fan, which is pretty much, you're not gonna be able to see it with the camera, right down here in front of the front tires, right behind the fin portion there of the inner fender well. So yeah, I don't know if it's a bearing in there taking a dump or what it is. They're electric motors, just like anything else. They can have issues arise. Obviously, we've got a little bit of an issue. So, yeah, we're going to dig that thing out. We may have to replace it. I don't know. Let's see what we got. So I haven't ordered any parts yet. I wanted to kind of dig into this, do a little bit of investigating first. If I do need to replace the fan, there is a Spall fan off a Summit you can get for around 250 bucks with tax and whatnot. And we'll do the job, fit in here just fine. But before I spend any money, like I said, I want to do a little investigating. So I got the front of the car up. If you guys have never torn into these before, the wheel liners are two-piece. So I've taken the front piece out here. And now you can see we've got full visual access here to the fan itself. I may have to go ahead and drop, whoop, sorry about that, the front plastic cover here, the same one that we removed when we did the differential fluids there, because I'm going to need to get this plastic shroud off of the fan here. There's a couple, see if you can get the camera up here and see them. You get a couple of nuts there on the top half, and if I understand right, there's a couple on the bottom half as well. So I'm going to need to remove this to be able to access those, to get those nuts off and get this shroud out of the way. We'll get this thing out of there. I'm gonna do a little bit more investigating before I purchase any parts for sure. It's almost like things are binding up a little bit. I don't know if I've got some debris pinched in there. So you can kind of hear that. I believe that's the high-pitched noise I'm hearing when that thing's spinning around at high speeds, but it's kind of binding up, you know. I mean, there's a little rock stuck right in here right now, so let's dig in there and see what we got. Yeah, alright, so we got those two 10mm nuts out of the way. As you can see, things are loose. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to pull that lower tray. Again, just a series of Torx bits to get that thing, because there's definitely being held on the bottom half. So kind of like the fender liners, the cool part about the under tray here is it comes in two halves. So I only need to pull the right half, or left half down, sorry, because there's nothing wrong with the right fan. So if it isn't broke, don't fix it. I'm not messing with it. And as you can see, now that I can get to the underside of that shroud, again, you've got two 10mm nuts holding that there. So I'll get those loose, and then hopefully we can get that shroud off of there, and then we can get two little bolts there that are holding the actual fan to the radiator. Get the shroud out of the way. Now, like I said, we can get to the four mounting points that are holding the fan on there itself. And just a little side note, the actual connection for the fan just kind of clips right on to the back side of the shroud there, so we can disconnect things there. So like I said, guys, you got four little bolts all around the fan here. These are 8mm, and you don't even have to pull these all the way out. Just get them loose enough. The fan is slotted. You can actually, there you go, pivot it, and you can see where they, and then you can just pull the fan right on out of there. Again, I've already disconnected the electrical connection. So now we can get this thing out. I can put it on the bench. We can get a little bit closer look at it here. See if there's a bearing going out, if there's just crud and debris in there. You can kind of see and feel. It appears there's like one spot up here where it's tight and binding. So I don't know, we'll look into it, see if I can figure out why. If it's repairable, great. If not, we'll just replace it. So now that we got it up here on the bench, we can get a much better look at things. I can get better eyes on it, a little bit better light. Hopefully my light is good enough here to pick up on this. Like I said, this kind of just rides around in here. It's pretty tight tolerances, but I've seen these bind up before and burn them up. Maybe I caught this one in time. We'll see. I can almost feel like as I'm playing with it, you can see it, feel it kind of binding up here in the top corner. And I don't know if the light will pick up on this. If the camera will get it or not. I almost feel like I can see a small bit of debris right in here. There it is right there. And that appears to be a very tiny sliver of rock. See a little bit more in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pull this little snap ring out of here, pull this out. I'm gonna clean this up real good and we'll see if it spins any more freely. We may get very lucky here. So this is actually incredibly comical because I have a really nice C-clip plier set. Unfortunately, it's too big, so I actually had to resort to my Harbor Freight version to get that tiny little C-clip off of there. All back together, guys. Things appear to be spinning smoothly and freely. We're gonna go ahead and give it one final test here. If you don't have yourself a power probe, I strongly recommend these tools for any sorts of electrical work or diagnostic. So here's what we found, guys. Believe it or not, that tiny, tiny sliver of pebble got hot, obviously, bound up in there and kind of shredded up. There's a bunch of little plastic shrapnel all inside the ring here. If you guys can see the score marks all around there. So I pulled off all the loose plastic, kind of smoothed it up with a little bit of emery, and things seem to be working fine and not binding up. Had that got in there and really bound up, it could have burned up the motor for sure. I've seen that happen in the past. I believe that we caught this in time. Like I said, I was out driving the car and it just started doing it. It hadn't been doing it up until Alright guys, sorry, first battery died on that last clip. So what we're going to do before I spend any of my time and labor remounting this thing in the car, we're going to go ahead and use the power probe and test this thing out here on the bench. You power the power probe, connect it to a battery, and connect it to a cigarette lighter, whatever you want to do. We're going to go ahead and we got a ground here. We're going to ground that to the ground pin and the connection. And hold the fan down. We're just going to send power to the power point, and we're going to make sure this thing runs as it should and nice and quiet. Well, there we go, guys. I'm pretty sure we got super lucky and a really, really cheap fix other than my time. 110% quieter than what you guys heard there with that thing running in the car. It's kind of ironic because just in one of the forums the other day, somebody was obviously frustrated. They spent thousands of dollars on a bunch of repairs in the car and trying to figure out, because they were still having a bunch of codes popping up, whether to part the car out, sell it, or what to do with it. And I get it, you're just frustrated, especially if you're paying somebody to deal with things. And their comment and frustration is there's no such thing as cheap and easy on a Lamborghini. I would tend to agree as far as most of the parts go and whatnot, but this is living proof. Start with the simple stuff, guys. You just never know. Maybe you'll get lucky like I did and just have a tiny little culprit causing what sounded like a hellacious problem and turned out not to be. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing reinstalled. I believe that problem averted. We'll get this thing back and get us out on the road by next weekend, Lord willing. I will connect the link to the Summit Racing fan in the description if you guys happen to not be quite as lucky as I am and you need to replace it. Also, Richard Graves from Lap of the World did a fantastic video using that exact fan as well. The only difference is you would have to reuse the factory connection here, so you're either going to need to disconnect and undo this weather pack terminal, repin it on the new fan, or you could obviously snip and rewire it yourself, whatever you choose to do. But just as a side note, if you go with the Summit Racing fan, you will save several $100s. However, that is something that you'll need to deal with, and that's exactly what I had every intention of doing when I started out doing this video. I was convinced this fan was taking a dump and I was going to have to replace it. So like I said, I'll put that in the description. Anyway, let's get this thing back together. All right, guys, there it is, all wrestled back into place. I just got to get the wheel liner back in, the other half of the bottom cover back on there, get the wheel on and get this thing back on the ground, warm it up till this thing kicks on, and listen to it purr. Bottom line, guys, I just got extremely lucky with the fan. It could have cost me a couple $100. Like I said, if you're not quite as lucky as I am and you're having issues with your cooling fans, I'll attach the link in the description to the Summit Racing Spall fan. It's not a difficult task to go ahead and swap that out if you need to. I'm grateful I didn't have to. It worked out extremely well. We just happened to get some dry weather. Wife and I were able to take the car out to her company law firm's Christmas dinner, and it just so happened to be at an Italian restaurant, so they were obliged to have an Italian parked front and center at the entryway to the restaurant. So it was a super cool time, had a good date night. Like I said, just luck. As always, guys, I appreciate the support. Hopefully somebody out there finds this video helpful and useful. Speaking of support, now it's time for my shameless plug. Since it is the holidays, I've had some time off from work. I was able to spend some time working online and get the online store link to the YouTube channel attached. It's up and running. There's several cool designs out there. You can get yourself t-shirts, hats, all sorts of different stuff, different merchandise if you really want to support the channel. If not, I definitely appreciate every like, everyone that subscribes, share the channel. It's slowly but surely growing, and I truly appreciate all the support. Here's a couple other examples of some of the merchandise you can find on the YouTube store link. So we got shorts, we got sweatshirts, hoodies. These are all my Italian designs. There's stuff out there for the muscle car guys, and several different designs out there. So I'm going to continue to work on that, hopefully get a few more cool designs uploaded. But anyway, if that's something you guys are interested in, I appreciate you checking it out. As always, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate the support. Stick around, and we'll see you on the next one.